You're in charge. My
All
time
right.
don't matter.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Lanisha Blair, and I'm the Prevention Director at Counseling Services. And I want to welcome you all to our September Coalition meeting. Today, we have a special guest, Andre Norman. I had the pleasure of hearing him about a couple months ago with one of our sister agencies. They had him as a speaker for one of their parent sessions that they were having, and I thought that he would be perfect for the coalition because he has a very unique story, and especially a story about service. So I'm going to read you a short bio, and remember, for everyone that is just joining us, put your name and your agency in the chat box or the comment section if you're on Facebook Live. Also, if you have any questions that come up during the session, please make sure you also put those in the chat box or the comment section. And without further ado, we will go ahead and start our September Coalition meeting. Now, Andre Norman's childhood prepared him for nothing less than a life of crime and violence, and eventually led him to be sentenced to over 100 years in prison. During his 2 year stay in solitary confinement, Andre had an epiphany and had made a decision to turn his life around. After serving 14 years, he walked out of the doors of the prison as a free man. Now known to many as the Ambassador of Hope, Andre's experience and expertise is what empowers him to help people turn their situation around. Andre travels around the world to serve as a mentor and listening ear for so many in need. So without further ado, I give you Andre Norman.
Hello, 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 everybody. I'm saying, I'm trying to see if I can see everybody. There we go. I can see everybody. Speaker view. So I just wanted to say hello, and I just want to say thank you for having me. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be here. And definitely during these crazy times. Can anybody hear me okay? Can you hear me? I just want to make sure when I get started that during these times of people who are struggling and finding a way to make things new, that when I get called upon, I feel it's for me, it's a good thing to be needed and needed in a way to help people move and be better. When I wake up every morning, I have one question: what can I do to make things better? And today is joining this call and adding value and purpose and some little bit of motivation to your group. So what I'm going to do today is three things. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to tell you the Andre Norman story of where I came from and how I got here. And secondly, I'm going to talk to you about some of the work that I do and how I've been doing outreach and intervention and collaboration with people for a few years. Then lastly, the most important thing, I want to talk about what we can do together. If we can't do anything together, it would have been a great call. It would have been a great hour and a time we spent. But I'm about service. I'm about action, and I'm about actually tangible things on the ground. So when this is all said and done, I'm going to look back after this call and say, not that we have a great call, but do we get some measurables and some actionables out of that call? So I'm willing to come and be helpful on the ground in real person. That's what I do. So a lot of people, I just literally had a call. There's a guy's the Worth Center in Ohio. It's a drug treatment center that I work with. And one of the guys was on his last leg about getting kicked out of the program. So the director gave him my book and said, hey, read this book, please. The guy started reading the book as instructed, and he got to a point in the book where he thought it was like, this is not believable. This part of the story doesn't make sense. So the director called me, and he said, well, with your history and your background, I don't see how this really happened. I think you over-exaggerated it. At the end of our conversation, after I won a young man over, I said, now think about this. You're in a drug treatment center in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, and the director gives you the book of an international speaker, and he gets on a call with you for 15 minutes before he does his business and helps you redirect your life. That sounds over-exaggerated, unbelievable. He just started laughing. I said, what like? Who are you going to convince that I get on a call with you for 15 minutes? It's not going to sound believable. But I just want to say that it's about service. And at the end of the call, throughout the call, if there's questions, comments, reflections, if there's anything I can do to be helpful, please know that I'm about being helpful. And when I was called, that's my goal. And that's my purpose, because that's your purpose. Your purpose is to help people be better. And I want to contribute and add to that. I'm saying, I don't want to get in front of you. I want to get beside you. So I appreciate you. But my personal story is my mom married a high school sweetheart, and she had 2 kids. My oldest sister, Janine, and my favorite sister, Imani. And she's actually listed in my phone as favorite sister, Imani. And it's not a bad thing, except one of my other sisters are in the car, and she calls me, and a voice pops up, favorite sister, Imani's calling you. I tell them they should have been nicer to me as a kid. That's all I can tell them. But life was good, but her husband robbed banks. So he went to prison, and while he was in prison, she met my dad. And she had 4 more kids, my sister Naomi, my brother Eric, myself, and then my little brother Anthony. Me and Anthony have been beefing our whole lives, but we're brothers. And life was good. Mom, dad, 6 kids. I'm a newborn. I'm a little kid. My first recollection of being in the house was my father beating up my mom. So we went through the domestic violence. And domestic violence technically is a new term. In the 70s, it wasn't called domestic violence. It was called handling your household. You were completely allowed, for whatever the reason, to beat your spouse in the 70s, and nobody intervened. And if the police did show up, they would ask you to keep it down because somebody complained. So my mom went through fighting with dad. My father's a big guy, 6'6", 300 plus pounds. So it was never a fair fight. But that's what, at first I used to cry and then be sad. And after like years of this, you just kind of get frustrated and mad, like, here they go again. And I started thinking it was just, they got issues, and I started disconnecting from them early. We finally got old enough to go to school, so we get on the bus and we're going to school now. And I'm playing with a building full of kids like any other kid. I loved it. And I'm coming home from school one day, and as the bus turned the corner, rocks came crashing through our bus window. And behind the rocks came some names. The first was nigger, then spear chucker, then porch monkey. I'm a little kid. I'm in the 1st grade. I don't know what's happening. So I fall to the floor, and I'm on the floor looking at my cousin bleeding from the face. He's crying. I'm crying. I don't know what it is. And we get home. I go to my dad. I'm like, Dad, who are these people? Because I never met white people before. I said, why are they throwing rocks at me? Nobody's ever thrown rocks at me before. I said, what are these names? Nobody's ever called me these names before. What do they mean? He looked at me, and I looked at him, and then he walked away. And he just left me as a 9-year-old to figure this thing out. And I didn't get it. But what I did find out later in life was my father grew up in Virginia. And he grew up at a time where being black was hard in Virginia. And when he used to go walk home from school, kids threw rocks names at him. And he went to his dad. My grandfather told him, that's just the way it is, son, run faster. So when they moved north to Boston to get away from the Jim Crow South, it was, okay, life is better until it happened to his kids. So he never got healing from what happened to him. He just thought he outlived it. And he didn't outlive it because it came back. And so now he walks away, and I'm left to process it by myself. And the thing is, I don't process well at 9. My conclusions and understandings of a 9-year-old. So I get it wrong. Then eventually the rock stopped. And eventually my mom stopped taking the beatings, and she put my dad out. So now you got a single mom, 6 kids living in the city. And you've seen that story. You've heard that story. We bounce around. And then at the end of that, we end up in a new school in a new neighborhood. When we get there, they give me a test to see what grade I should be in and what level I should be on. And they found out that at that time in the 3rd grade, I was completely illiterate. Couldn't read, write, or count. So they had a thing called a dummy class back then. They took us all, and they stuck us in a dummy class. So me, Melvin, and Thaddeus would sit in the dummy class and just do nothing all day. And I've heard about now the school to prison pipeline. I was on that bus in the 3rd grade because I fit the criteria for what constitutes school to prison pipeline. And I couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't count, and they just stuck me in the room and left me. And I don't know where teachers go on vacation, but my teacher took a vacation, and they put us in another class one day. And I was in there doing my routine, just acting up, being out of control. And then the teacher told me to sit down. And I kept being out of control. And she grabbed me and slammed me in a chair. She said, I said, sit down. And when she grabbed me, what she didn't understand is I thought, oh, my God, am I about to be beat like my mom? Is it my turn to get hit in the face? Is it my turn to get stomped out? And I'm like waiting for like the blows to start raining down on me. And then she looked at me. And she just said, not on my watch. And she said, you're not a dummy. You just learn differently from other kids. And she did one of the biggest favors anybody's ever done for me. She took me out of the dummy class and she put me in her class. And first I did whatever she said to do because I was scared she was going to hit me. Then I did whatever she said to do because I realized she was showing up and she cared. By the end of the year, I used to run to her class because I knew Miss Oliver loved me. And she showed it in so many different ways. At the end of the year, I moved on And she said, Andre, this is your gift. This is your style. Don't let anybody take it from you. And you're not a dummy. And I moved on. And by the time I got to middle school, I could read, write, and count kind of like the other kids. When I got to middle school, I found something else out. We were poor. Nobody told me we were poor in elementary school. But when we got to middle school, those kids let you know, those are last year's jeans. Those sneakers are dusty. That's not the cool jacket. Yep. And it was just horrible. They just started giving me a hard time day one. They didn't give me a week. Day one, they decided riding me about having not the cool stuff and what I didn't have and who I didn't know. And it was horrible. And I'm sitting in homeroom on the third day of school. The teacher says, Andre, you're a free lunch kid. You can't afford lunch. Come get this form and fill it out. Take it home. Have your mother sign it because y'all are poor. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, your name's on the list. Come fill this form out. Have your mother sign it. We're not going to give you no lunch. You're going to be hungry. And it was the longest walk ever from the back of the class to go get that dumb form. I went home, had my mother sign it, and she brought it back. And the teacher just made me feel like this big because we couldn't afford lunch. And I don't know how many other kids were on free lunch, but it was awful. And I told my mom one day, I don't go back here. These people are mean. The teachers are mean. The kids are mean. I don't fit in. I don't want to go to school. And she said, boy, you're going to go to school. And that was it. Then one of my friends came up to me one day because he had the same problem I had. He was poor, and he was a free lunch kid. He says, Dre, if we sell weed in the park after school, we can make money. We can buy our own stuff. I was like, I'm in. Didn't even think about it. Didn't ask the consequence or the stigma. I'm in. I can get from under this rock. I'm in. So when I first started selling drugs, and it was never about being a gangster, being cool, or being fly, or being tough. I just wanted to not be ridiculed by other kids. I wanted to be able to pay for my own lunch when I came for the chow hall. You know what I'm saying? That's all it was. When I came in the cafeteria, I got tired of the lady flipping through the book and checking my name off like I was a subhuman. So we sold weed in the park after school. We made money. We bought the clothes. Now the kids accept us. Everything's fine. And everything's cool. And I just kept moving on. And by the time I got to high school, I was just a full mess. And I get to high school, I'm out of control. I'm not really going to class. I'm completely off the rails. And that ends like everybody else before me. I ended up in court at 18 years old. I get to court at 18, the judge started reading off sentences. And he read them off, and they turned around, and they put me on a bus. They sent me to the state prison. I get to the state prison. I'm going to tell you, I was nervous. I heard all the horrible stories about what happens at state prison. And I was just scared. When I walked into the unit, the thing that turned out, it was a reunion of all my friends from the dummy class, all my friends from the principal's office, all my friends from juvie, all my friends from suspension hall, all my friends. It was just all there. It was like, yo, Dre, what took you so long? We knew you were coming. Where you been? And it was just like this giant reunion of all the people who had just not done well. And they gave me a pair of basketball sneakers. I went right on the court and started playing hooping. And that was it. And I spent the next 6 years of my life participating in criminal activity or prison activity or whatever you want to call it. And I was 100% all bought in. And that's what I did. I got up every day. I got with the guys, and we just ran around the prison and we hung out. And I remember the first week, they brought me down to the unit team, they used to call it. And a nice little lady sat me down, and she said, look, Andre, these are all the programs we offer. It was GED, it was forklift, it was HVAC, it was college back then. It was all these different courses you can take. And I was excited. So I went back to the unit, and I called my mom. Mom, I'm going to get all these degrees. I'm going to get all these certificates. I'm going to make this time work for me. Then I went back to the unit. My friends are like, yeah, we're going to the yard, Dre, let's go. I said, no, I'm going down to the school. I'm going to sign up for HVAC. They're like, huh? They're like, oh, he got the caseworker story. So what do you mean? They said, listen, man, that lady told you you could be this and you can be that. Yeah, that's all true. But what she didn't tell you, and he pointed to the group across the hall, you see them guys? That's the white gang. And when they realize that you're on your own, they're going to run down here, rob you, stab you, rape you, or whatever. And that lady's not going to come help you. You see them guys over there? That's Latino gang. They're going to, when they realize that you're on your own, you got nobody backing you up, they're going to run down here, rob you, rape you, stab you, take your stuff. And you think that lady from the unit team is going to come help you? No. You see them guys over there? That's the black gang from the other side of town. They're going to do the same thing the other two gangs done, if not before and then after. And based on you have no support. So you got a choice. You can go solo, you and that lady from the unit team in that little handbook, or you can ride with us and be safe. I threw that handbook in the trash. It was never, for me, personal safety was way more important than education. Personal safety was extremely important compared to getting a LCL license or anything else. I wanted to stay alive. I wanted to stay whole. And that little lady from unit team, even though she gave me good information, she couldn't protect me. And she wasn't going to protect me. That wasn't her job. Her job was to give me information. I didn't need information. I needed protection first, information second. So the information went out the window. And I just, for 6 years, I'm all in. And I was 100% all in. And I moved up the ranks of the gangs and the status, whatever you want to call it, until I found myself in solitary confinement for 2 attempted murders. And my mom came to see me. She came and she had to come down a maximum security solitary where I was locked in the hole. So she came in. The first thing she said, because I'm in waist chains and shackles, I got a jumpsuit on. She said, "Boy, how'd you get in jail, in jail?" I said, "Mom, I'm working hard. This is real business up in here." And she just looked at me and we started talking. And I'm telling her how I'm moving up and I'm getting status and I'm making money and people are respecting me. And she's trying to talk to me about the forklift class. I'm like, "Mom, that forklift class is dead. I'm on some better stuff." And we just kept going in this circle. And finally, she started crying and she left. I'm like, "What she's crying for?" I'm saying, "I'm doing well up in here. I'm running things. I'm a boss." I'm saying, I'm like, my dad's been to jail. My stepdad's been to jail. I don't know how many cousins, uncles been to jail. What's the big deal? I'm doing better than all of them. None of them were bosses like this. Why is she tripping? I went back to my cell and I sat down. And what I didn't understand then is my mother realized that she lost her son. Her son didn't exist anymore. I transformed into another person. And the thing I didn't understand is I really thought I was winning. And I try to explain this to people. I thought I was winning because I was a boss in prison. I had status. I had rank. I had all this other fake, fictitious stuff that I thought I was winning. You could not tell me in 1991 that I wasn't winning, that my life wasn't on top of a mountain someplace. I needed to be celebrated. And I had negated the fact that I'm in a prison. I negated the fact that I'm in the hole. I negated the fact that I can't see my family. I negated the fact that I'm still illiterate. I negated a lot of stuff because I bought into this culture. And inside that culture, that subculture, I was winning. But if I came out of that subculture, my life was a mess. But I wasn't coming outside. I lived in my head and I lived in this fantasy world. And that's what I did. And I spent the next 2.5 years in solitary confinement thinking that I'm winning because I'm amassing some status points. I don't know who's keeping the official record, but there's somebody keeping the official record of who's a real gangster in jail someplace. Someplace in somebody's book, they got me down as official gangster from 1988 to 1991. They've never showed me the book. I've yet to see the book, but I'm just going to trust that somebody someplace has the official record of my gangster days. And I don't know what they're going to do with them, but hopefully they'll show them to me one day and I can laugh at myself. But towards the end of my solitary sentence, I had a chance to hurt some people and become the number 1 guy because I had become the number 3. And when I had that chance, it was kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, where she's going through this whole journey for all these people to get to the wizard to get her answer of how to get home. So I got to the wizard. I'm like, I'm here. I'm about to be the boss of all of this. When I got there, it's like you pull the curtain back and I saw a Dorothy saw a little old man pulling levers. It was all fake. I'm like, wait a minute. This is the boss of the bosses? This is all it is? And he was like, yeah, this is it. And I was disgusted. I walked away from my family. I walked away from my life. I walked away from everything to be the wizard. And this is all the wizard is? Some fake dude sitting here pulling levers and got the whole world fooled at thinking he's real. And he has powers. There's no powers in being a boss of a jail. When I walked away from that conversation, I walked away from that scenario, I realized something. I was a king of nowhere. I thought I was a king of something. The truth was I was a king of nowhere. And I had convinced myself that somehow it was something different. And the truth just came to me. So I went back to my cell and I said, okay, what am I going to do? I don't want to be the king of nowhere. So I said, okay, I want to first time in 6 years, I thought these thoughts. I want to go home. I was so bought in. At no point in 6 years did I ever say to myself, I don't want to be here. I remember one time I called my girlfriend. I got shipped around the country. I went to 9 different states. I happened to be in Terre Haute, Indiana. It was like my 5th stop. And I called my girlfriend from the hole, of course. And I was calling on the phone like, yeah. And she said, hold up. There's a problem. I said, what are you talking about? What happened? She said, you're not suffering. I said, what do you mean? She said, you're not suffering. I'm out here worried about you every day. I can't go to the movies. I can't do this. I can't do that. And you're in there having fun. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, you're not suffering. And this isn't fair. You should be suffering along with me. I'm like, She's tripping. But at the end of the day, I wasn't suffering. I was having fun. I thought I was in like Candyland or something. Like, this is a play place. And it was a maximum security prison. But in my mind, I didn't see it as such. So when I saw that Wizard of Oz moment, I said, okay, first time ever, I said, I want to go home. If I can't be the wizard, there's no point in being here. There was no sense in being in Oz if I can't be the wizard. So I looked around. I said, I want to be free. I looked at the white guys, looked at the black guys, looked at the Spanish guys, looked at the kitchen workers, looked at the guys who went to church, the guys who did programs, the guys who played basketball, the guys who played chess, the guys who walked the yard, the guys who were crazy, the guys who were philosophers. I looked at everybody. Everybody went home, got free, and everybody came back. I'm like, hold up. There's a problem with it. Some group had to go home and have success. There wasn't one demographic that I could look at and say went home and had success based on them being in a particular demographic. So I was like, free don't work. That's the best I came up with. I said, free does not work. So I don't want to be free because all the free people come back here. I said, what group do I need to get in not to come back here? So I said, I need to be successful because successful people don't come to prison. So I said, I can be successful. I can skip this whole come back to prison thing and I'll win. So I said, cool. Where do successful people come from? I deduced they come from college. So I said, I'll go home, go to college. I'll be successful. End of story. So I came out my cell the next day and I got my guys together. I said, listen, I figured it out. They said, what? I said, I figured it out. So I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be successful. They said, huh? I said, dude, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be successful. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. I said, I picked the college too. I'm going to Harvard. They're like, now you bugging. Now you bugging. You doing too much, Dre. You can't go to Harvard. I said, why? They said, you're black. I said, I know that. They said, you're a gang leader. I said, yeah, I know that. They said, dude, you're in segregation for trying to kill 8 people. You were talking about trying to kill 7 yesterday. I'm like, yeah, and that was yesterday. I said, dude, I'm going. They said, Dre, you got a ton of time. You're a great gang leader. Why would you want to leave us and go to Harvard? I said, dude, I don't want to be here no more. I don't want to be the wizard. I don't want to be the boss. I want to go home and be successful. And everybody thought I was crazy. So I left them, called my mom. She thought I was crazy too. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, I know I've been a disappointment. I know I haven't been the son that you wanted me to be, but I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to Harvard. I'm going to make you proud. And he said, you can't do that, son. I said, why? He said, they won't let you. So what are you talking about? This is my decision. He said, no, they won't let you. And we went back and forth with they won't let you and back. I'm like, I finally realized my dad's they were the white people from Petersburg, Virginia in the 40s. Because had my father stood in Petersburg Central Square in 1942 and had the audacity to say that he was going to Harvard University, they'd have hung him. It's this little uppity nigga thinks he's better than us and can do better than us. He's crazy. They'd have silenced him. So my father's hearing me talk crazy talk, as he used to call it. You're talking crazy talk. Stop it before they hear you. And I'm like, I heard my father scared for the first time. I've never heard fear in my father. My father's a street dude, big dude, rough dude. Never heard fear in his voice. When he's saying they won't, he was worried they were going to do something to me if they heard me with this crazy talk. So when I got off the phone, I realized something, that he wasn't going to help me. And the worst thing happened and the best thing happened. The worst thing happened is nobody believed my dream of going to Harvard. The best thing happened is nobody believed my dream of going to Harvard. Because had one person said in my gang, Dre, I'll go with you, I'd have tried to take him. If the whole gang said, yeah, let's go, I'd have tried to take all 50 of them. Let's go. We're going to Harvard, 50 deep. And it never happened. So I had to go back and do it by myself. So I sat down and I wrote out my plan on how I was going to go from maximum security prison and solitary confinement to Harvard University. And I started working my plan. Step 1, I got my GED. Step 2, I started going to anger management because I had a slight anger management problem. Then step 3, I started going to counseling. Step 4, I started going to self-help groups. Step 5, I went to the law library, taught myself the law. And step 6, I just kept going forward. I stopped hanging out with the gang. You can't really quit. You just got to like distance yourself because we're all locked in the same building. And I just started every day. I spent 20 hours a day working on positivity and building myself. And over the next 8 years of teaching myself the law, teaching myself to read, teaching myself the principles of self-help, teaching myself everything I could, I just kept building. I got to the point I ran out of stuff. Then I was like, man. So I went down to they have this thing called happy hour where the warden stands out in front of lunch hall. So I went down to the happy hour. I'm like, yo, warden. He's like, what's up, Dre? I said, where's the angry black man class? He said, what do you mean? I said, dude, I need the angry black man class. I took every other class you got. You got to have that one. He says, Dre, it doesn't exist. I said, dude, you got like 1.2 million angry black men locked up. How do you ain't got an angry black man class? He said, it went on Harvard, Dre. And I got mad. I'm like, how you don't have the class that I need when you got me here? You're supposed to be here to help me or what? He's like, dude, you're bugging. And old guy came and got me. He said, Dre, come on. Because I'm like getting riled up. Like, dude, I want help and y'all ain't helping me. He's like, he's looking at me like, you don't get the system. We're not really here to help you. We're here to hold you. And my buddy took me. He took me down. He said, come on with me. He said, come with me tonight. So I went to him. It was an AA group. I said, man, I don't drink. Why you got me in an AA group? He said, man, Dre, just listen. They introduced themselves. Hi, I'm Johnny. I'm an alcoholic. He said, listen, this is my friend Andre. He has anger issues, and we need to help him. So the leader of the group said, Dre, when you hear us say alcohol, you substitute it for anger. Then my friend took me to the NA group. I'm like, dude, I don't do drugs. He said, just listen. And the same thing. The guy said, when you hear us say drugs, you substitute it for anger. Big book, 12 steps, all of them. They just kept, he said, you substitute our stuff for your stuff, but it works. And for 6.5, 7 years, I went to AA, NA, big book, 12 step, and I substituted their issues for my issues. But it was because it was all I had available to me. There was no angry black man class. I still don't think they have one. But I can tell you what, NA and AA did wonders for me because the process of understanding and helping and healing yourself is super important. And it applied to me, even though I don't have a drug problem or alcohol problem. And I just kept building. Then what happened, it was November 15th, 1999. I made parole, and I got to go home. And I walked out of prison. 14 years in, 14 years out, and I'm gone. And the hardest part of going home, when I went to walk out, you go to the gate, your friends walk to the gate, they wave you off and all that wonderful stuff. And the guy in the tower says, what's your name and number? And he opens the gate, and you walk into a trap. Gate closes back. He says, come on, keep it moving. You walk to the hall, another gate opens, you walk out, door closes. When the second door closed, I was in the lobby. And I was like, my friends were there to pick me up. And they're like, Dre, let's go. And I'm like stuck. It's like I had like some kind of like Lyme disease. I couldn't move. I was frozen. I was like, hold up. I just spent 14 years in there. Now I'm in the lobby. And the craziest thing for me was the distance to my freedom was 30 yards. You might not get this because you might not have done time. But when you're inside of a prison, you're inside of your bubble, your little prison, you think that it's like 1,000,000 miles underground. And the distance from inside the prison walls to the front lobby freedom was 30 yards. Blew my mind. Crushed me. That was like one of those things that just crushed me. I could have an anxiety moment. You might not get it, but when you're sitting on that yard, it's like there's people back there doing forever, and freedom's 1,000,000 miles away. For it to be 30 yards away, for me, was a lot to handle. For all that time, I was 30 yards from freedom. But again, I suspend, you know what I'm saying, I suspended all my reality concepts for prison concepts. And once I got out, my friends took me to the parole office. We got in the car, we drove straight to the parole office. I went in and I signed the papers. And me and the parole officer actually got in an argument because I was like, well, when do I get off? And she says, oh, you get off in 3 years. I said, no, I get off in 18 months. She said, no, 3 years. I said, 18 months. We're going back and forth like, I need to be right, lady, because I know I'm right. She's like, I need to be right because I know I'm right. And we're going back and forth. We started to get heated. And I saw her ready to pick the phone up and send me back. Like, he's just out of control. He's going back for being belligerent or whatever else she's going to write me up for. And my anger management kicked in. It really did. And it helped me stay with it all these years. I said, well, you know something? She's saying 3 years. I'm saying 18 months. Either way, I got 18 months to fix this. I don't have to be right today. As long as I'm right before the end of 18 months, I'm fine. Something I never used before. I said, no, something, lady, you're right. 3 years. I got up and I walked out the office. And I flipped her card in the trash because I'm like, yeah, she ain't with, she's about the business. She with the other people. And I went out. It was probably 2 weeks later. She called me back to the office. She said, Andre, you were right. It was 18 months. And she apologized. And I can say we went on to have a great friendship during my 18 months on parole. And she became one of my best resources while I was on parole, where everybody else ran from their parole officer and hid from their parole officer. And that's what they suggested I do. I'm like, but she knows where all the jobs are. She knows where all the programs are. She knows where everything's at. Why am I running from her? And why am I running with you? Because you don't know what nothing is. Dre, just keep coming. run. It's like, I was like, we was like runaway slaves. Like, just keep going north. They're going to catch us. I'm like, dude, we want to get, she has the information, bro. No, she's the enemy. Run. I'm like, no. So I just waved my friends, and I would go sit in the parole office, and I'd talk to my PO about programming, about access, because she knew more about this stuff than anybody. But we refused to accept the person who has the most information because of their job title. Well, when I walked out of the parole office that first day, my friend said, where you want to go? Where you want to go? They said, you want to go to the girl's house, see your mom, go see your grandmom? I said, no, take me to the youth center. He said, what do you mean? I said, take me to the juvie center. Because I had promised some kids that I would go by and see them when I got out. Left the parole office, went to the juvenile center, and I walked inside. And the counselors knew me from, we used to run programs with them. I went in, I started talking to kids. I said, there was 15 young black kids sitting in the room. I said, you're going to jail, not because you're black. You're going to jail not because you carry a gun and smoke weed. You're going to jail because somebody let you down. They hurt your feelings. You internalize it. Now you act out. When you were 8, 9, it was cute. Now 14 and 15 is criminal. Let me show you how to process your feelings, because I'm going to tell you, nobody ever taught me how to process mine. And that's why I went around. I'm going to show you how to process your feelings, process your emotions, process your thoughts, so you don't end up with a bad result. And I started teaching them. And they were like, they sat up and they paid attention. And 2 things happened. I was validated and I felt good for helping these kids. That was definitely one of the things. And the second thing is I felt comfortable being in that building because it was a locked facility. When I went from the prison to the parole office, I mean, I'm outside. The buses are talking. People are talking. There's strange people jogging in my neighborhoods. I mean, it's just all kinds of stuff. I'm like, gentrification. I'm like, what is going on? Cars, you walk up to your car says good morning. Cars don't talk to you when I went to jail. Everybody's on the cell phone. What's this? You know what I'm saying? We have they had like shoebox cell phones on the jail. Only doctors had them. And it's just like the world had changed so much that the only time I really felt comfortable and not overwhelmed when I was in that juvenile center in a locked facility. So I never told anybody, but I would go volunteer every day because I felt comfortable. That was my anxiety breakdown, scale back moment. When the world was going too fast, I showed up at the youth center. Like, hey, I'm here to talk to the kids. They let me in. And while I was in there, there's no cell phones. There's no talking cars or buses. The street signs don't talk to you. Talk about, you can cross the street now. Oh, no, you can't cross the street. I mean, nothing. I just felt like at home alone. I was like, cool. I was my own environment. And the other thing I would do to de-escalate when I got anxiety, which was often, is literally I'd be in my house. It'd be 10 o'clock at night, and I'd be stressed out. I would get in my car, and I would drive out to the prison. And I'd sit on the highway above the prison, and I'd just look into the prison yard. I could see the buildings and the wood shop and the laundry where I used to work, and I could see part of the track. And I sat there maybe 45 minutes just looking into the yard because that's where all my friends were. That's where all my memories were. I hadn't detached. It was just like, it's what I knew. I don't know this new world. So I used to feel comfortable sitting on that highway just thinking about how my friends are doing. And I did that probably 3 or 4 times in the first 6 months. And I go to that youth center almost every day because I needed some place to de-escalate and some place to connect to what I understood. And I just kept working. Then somebody asked me one day when I came to the youth center to talk to the girls, because I always talk to the boys. I went to the girls unit, talked to the girls, and they had molestation, abuse, esteem, domestic violence, problems with the moms, problem with dad, problem with mom's boyfriend. It was just so much stuff they were going through that I didn't understand how hard it was being a girl. So I became de facto dad to the whole girls unit. And I'm going there every day now. Boys in the morning, girls in the afternoon. And somebody asked me to talk to white kids. I'm like, white kids ain't got no problem. They good. Now I went to a white school. They do drugs at the white school. They smoke weed at the white school. They drink at the white school. They got bullies at the white school. They got kids in a dummy class at the white school. And my thing with white kids was I grew up watching Partridge Family, you know what I'm saying, Happy Days, you know what I'm saying, Brady Bunch. My white kids never had problems at the end of their show. So I didn't understood that white kids didn't live like they lived on TV. But they don't. They just, when I went to this school, I had a preset notion of rich white kids, and they're fine, 90210, they're good. And it's not that. What it was is they might have, their parents might have money, but being 15 is being 15. And it's hard no matter who you look like or where you live. And they just might be suffering in a bigger house. They might be suffering and they have maids at home, but they're still suffering. Mom and dad still checked out, or the neighborhood's hard, or people are picking on them. I know what it's like to be picked on. So getting picked on if you have money is no better than getting picked on when you don't have money. So I started working with white kids. Then somebody called, and I walked out of that school that day. I said, never again will I judge somebody based on my ignorance. If somebody calls me, I'll show up. And I started showing up. Then I got a call. This is funny. It's funny. It was not. It was probably like 15 years ago. Somebody called me from Guatemala. They sent me a message on Facebook. Said, Dre, we see you with the Kennedys. We see you with the president. We see you with the governors and the mayors. You're all over the place. You're on TV. We think you have a fabulous story. Will you do a Skype call with our kids? I'm like, what's a Skype call? They were like, well, we're going to put you in front of a computer there. We'll put our kids in front of a computer here. You can just talk to them. I said, well, where are you? They said, we're in Guatemala. So I went to public school, so I had to say, where's that? And they were like, well, we're in Central America. I said I went to public school. Where's that? And they told me where it was. I said, well, why not just come down there and talk to kids in person? They said, well, we can't afford to bring you. I said, well, if I get to the airport, can you meet me? They're like, sure. So I flew to Guatemala, and I stayed there for 6 days doing outreach all over the city and all over the country, just helping people. And it was a great 6 days, and I saw a lot of stuff, and I met a lot of people. And that's just been my attitude. If you call me, I show up. So I had the fortune to work in Ferguson, Missouri, when they had protests and riots. I've worked in Honduras when they had the highest murder rate in the world. I worked in Liberia, West Africa, when they had post-Civil War and they had child soldiers in the street. And I'm just doing the work, and I'm going around. I've worked in Scottsdale with kids who were ODing on all kinds of opioids and messed up drugs. I worked in Compton and Watts. I worked all over. Wherever they called me, I show up, from Sweden to Germany to Amsterdam to St. Lucia to Jamaica to Bahamas to Trinidad to Colombia to Costa Rica. When they called me, I had to show up. And that's been my thing. And it was 2 years ago, there was a riot in South Carolina at the maximum security prison. When they had this riot, 7 people died and 30 people were wounded. And they locked the entire prison system down. When they locked it down, they never arrested anybody or charged anybody from that day to this. Nobody's ever been charged for those murders or the assaults. And they had the prison locked down for 5 months. I'm an international speaker. I'm at London Business School. I'm at Harvard Law School. I'm all over the world. I'm living my life. I'm enjoying it. And then I run into a lady from South Carolina, Nina Staley. And she said, Andre, that was a great talk you just gave, but can you actually do that? I've seen a lot of people who talk about what they do, but can you actually do what you say you do? I was like, of course. She said, well, I need you to come to South Carolina. I said, I'm busy. I'm booked up for the next 4 months, lady. I got a 2-week vacation coming up. I don't have time. I've been on the road all year. I'm about to go on vacation. Check me in December right before Christmas. She said, you don't understand. We need you in South Carolina. I'm like, lady, I don't know what South Carolina is. And I don't know why would anybody want to go to South Carolina. I said, I'm good. I said, I have a thriving career. My business is off. I don't need to go to prison. And she asked me, she said, where's your commitment to the work? There are people dead on our floors. Where's your commitment? So I picked up my phone. I called my admin. I canceled my vacation. I said, lady, I will come to South Carolina. Here's the dates. I'll be there in 2 weeks. She called back to the director, Brian Sterling. She had a conversation with him and the senior staff, and they arranged for me to come to South Carolina. And I said, I'm not going to come for a day. I'm coming for my whole vacation. I'm coming for the week. So I came to South Carolina, and the entire prison system had been locked down 5 months, 24 hours a day, locked in their cells. So what I did, we went to Lee Correctional first, where the murders were. And we spoke. We went on to the unit, and we talked to the guys. And we started talking, cell at a time. This is going to take forever. You got 19,000 prisoners. I can't do a cell at a time. I said, open all the doors up. They said, what are you talking about? I said, open all the doors up. Let them out. They said, Dre, these guys are angry. We've had a lot of dead people, a lot of wounded. They're mad. They're going to attack each other. I said, dude, open the doors. They were like, how do you know this is going to work? And I told them, I said, my God is bigger than their demons. Open the doors. And they opened the doors. And 300 men came out. Hadn't been out in 5 months, hadn't been around each other in 5 months. They came out and we spoke to them. Then we went to the next unit, we opened the doors. Went to the next prison and we opened the doors. Over 6 days, 10 prisons, 8,000 men. We went prison to prison from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Miss Staley and her staff, Andrea Thompson, they all came. You know what I'm saying? The deputies came, the wardens came, the lieutenants came. We went prison to prison and we spoke to these men. We went to the women's prison. We spoke to the women. We spoke to everybody. We spoke to the wardens. We spoke to the staff. We spoke to the guys in the kitchen. And at the end of the 6 days and 8,000 people we communicated with, there wasn't one fight, wasn't one incident. then Director Sterling was like, yo, can they come back and set up a program? And we came back and we set up a program at Lee Correctional. And we've run this program at Lee Correctional for almost 2 years now. And in the 2 years we've been here almost, we've only had one fist fight. No stabbings, no assaults, no murders, just one fist fight. And that was during COVID. Dudes just got bored. And it wasn't anything major, no retaliation. It was a fight nonetheless, though. I was highly upset that we had a fight. And they know something, to tell you the truth, those guys, after the fight was over, the whole unit was disappointed because we had on the wall 365 days, 380 days, no violence, no problems. So it was a fist fight, and it just like you messed the whole program up. So they felt it. But we've been working with SCDC for the last 2+ years behind these walls. And when I talked to Director Sterling, it was about two things. How do we make it safe and better for the people inside because they're coming home, and he wants them to come home better. And the second thing is, I said, Director, prison's where people end up. It's not where they start. And we had a discussion about going to where they start. So we've been speaking at alternative schools in Charleston and Anderson and Sumter and Florence and Columbia, you know what I'm saying, and North Charleston. We've been all over in Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head. We've been going all over this state trying to talk to kids in alternative schools and youth programs, YMCA's, boys clubs, juveniles, halls, as well as county jails, trying to stop people from going to jail. And that's one of the things that made me excited about working here is most places I go, they're only worried about their people. I need you to work in this prison and this unit with these people. And the director of SCDC, Mr. Sterling, is concerned about kids not going to jail, which makes me say, okay, these are people I can work with. So what I ended up doing was moving to South Carolina. I closed all my stuff up, and I am physically in South Carolina. I've been here. February will be 2 years flat. 24 the entire COVID season, I've been here in Bishopville, South. Not only do I live in South Carolina, I live in Bishopville, South Carolina. We don't have sidewalks. I got a dirt road. I got spider webs in my backyard every 2 days. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here. I shop at Piggly Wiggly. You know what I'm saying? They know me at the local coffee shop because we don't have Starbucks. And because I live 1 minute drive from the prison because I'm committed, because I saw the commitment of the SCDC staff that they were committed to try to make this better. So my thing is, I'm committed. And I'm here, I'm on the ground, I'm in South Carolina. Since we've been here, I've been trying to reach out and connect to other people and other programs and say, hey, it's hard. I hate to say to myself I'm an expert, but I'm really good at this stuff. So I said, who can I help while I'm here? Who can I help while I'm in state? And we built a church in Columbia. It's called True Church. If you want to go on great service online, Pastor Alvin Jones, True Church, we helped build that. There's another program there's a youth boxing program we help build. You know what I'm saying? There's some programs in Greenville we're working on. We're trying to do gun violence. We're trying to do youth retention from going to lockup. It's not just about people in the prison. We visit the families. We do substance abuse. Anything that we can do while we're here, we want to do. Because the objective was, when we came, hire locals. Because usually a consultant would come in and bring 20 people from out of town. 90% of my staff is from South Carolina. There was 3 of us from out of town. That's it. Everybody else from here. My core 3 people were from out of town. I only have 2 now. Well, me and one other brother. One guy, he had to go. We got settled. So not other than 2 of us, everybody's from South Carolina. Because when we leave, and I have to leave at some point, we need people here to be vested, up to speed, and know how to run it. You understand? And that was a goal, and these were discussions when we first came in. How do we transfer this to you? And how do we include locals? And how do we stop kids from going? So it's not just how do we get these guys to behave, but how do we actually embrace the entire system and make it better? And for the last almost 2 years, that's what we've been doing. And it's been going well. I mean, of course, we had our one fight, which I'm not happy about. But I'm saying 18 months, one fight, that's not bad, considering we went from 7 dead bodies on the floor and numerous other problems. But again, it's been a collaboration. It's not just we ran in on a white horse. It's been a collaboration across the board and adjustments. I have to adjust to different styles. People have to adjust to me. But the thing is, we've all been committed to making it work. And when I got called to come here, I don't know 100% what you do, but I'm committed to making it work. And the services and the things that I do, they're on the table. They're on the table. So if you need some community outreach, you need some strategic planning, you need some social justice stuff, I mean, whatever you need, just call me and just reach out, and then we'll make it happen. We'll find a way. And I'm just here. And luckily for me, you know what I'm saying, I even got a South Carolina driver's license. Real talk. So I'm official. I get my mail here. I can vote here next month. I'll be voting in the state of South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? I'm a registered voter. So it's been fun. It's been fun, and it's been great. And I've met a lot of great people, and I've learned what it's like and what it good, bad, and indifferent about being here, all sides. But I've met good people. I've met people with good hearts, and that's what matters, because there's so many people in our service and in our care that need people with good hearts and not judgmental, because you never know what somebody's going through. You can look at somebody all day long, but you never know what they're going through. I don't care how nice their bag is or how cool their car looks. You gotta see inside of them, and we can't. So we got to convey to people that it's okay to talk. It's okay to communicate. It's okay to be different. So, and that's my motto. What can we do to let people be themselves and be better? And if my son was here, he'd be like, I would say to myself, what does dad want you to be? He would tell you the best version that I can be of myself. I don't need an Andre Jr. I don't need an Andre look. He looks like me, but that's not his fault. He can't do nothing about that. I don't need an Andre part 2. I need a Brooks part 1. And that's where we are. And so I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be sharing. And I just wanted to ask, my question is, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help your agency? What can I do to help your service? What can I do to help your family? If your family's struggling, don't say, oh, it's for work, he ain't gonna help my family. I'll help your family. I'll help anybody that I can that calls me. I got a text last night from a sister in Florida. Her brother's in jail. She's in Georgia, brother's in jail in Florida. He heard a podcast that I'm on, because I do information that goes inside the prison. And he just wanted to say thank you for putting out the information. So I called her, which shocked her. And I sent her an email. She's like, then I ordered them a book. You know what I'm saying? So if that $13 and 7 minutes on the phone can change that family's life, who am I not to give it? Who am I to say, oh, I'm busy? Who am I to say, oh, she's not paying my rate, so she can't pay me? No. I never not show up based on money. That's never it. And people need you. You've been doing great work. You've been in this field for a long time. And I'm just a testimony of what happens when people show up and care. People showed up and cared for me. And they showed me that I can be greater than what I thought was possible. I'm saying they showed me that with instructions and with guidance, the things that I can achieve. And I look at the things that I've achieved in my life, and it's all been based on mentorship and people taking the time out to pour into me and help me become a better person and help me help other people. You know what I'm saying? There was no strings, no contingencies, no fees. It was like, yo, that's a person. And they're not going to look at my past. They're going to look at who I can be in the future and say, he can be somebody great. Let's help him be great. And that was all it was. So the people that you're helping, they're looking at you and they're looking at you and they're looking at you. And they're saying, well, I want to be great. I learned to be a great dad, not because I had a great dad. I had great mentors who were great dads. And I learned how to be a father watching. I seen some of my friends, their kids loved them. I'm like, dude, why are they loving you like that? What's this about? I didn't grow up in that type of household. How do you love your father like that? And how are you crying because your dad ain't at dinner? He's coming home. Stop crying. But they just loved their father like they was just so connected. And I said, well, I got to learn that. And I learned how to be a dad watching my friend Pat Dempsey. And I watched what he did with his kids. And I copied it. And I'm not ashamed to say I copied it. I'm saying, and me and my son have a great relationship based on me watching Pat Dempsey, and I'm watching a lot of other people. Stop trying to pretend like I know. I don't want to pretend like I know and ruin my son's life. I don't pretend like I know ruin the client's life. I don't pretend like I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? And self-care is not selfish. So I still go to counseling. So count me as a patient some days of the week. I be on the couch talking about I got problems still because that's what got me better. So why would I stop doing it? That's what got me better, going to counseling. So at what point do I outgrow being better? What point do I outgrow being a good person? What point do I outgrow the things that got me here? Because once I outgrow that, then you get too big for your britches, they say down south, and you fall down. Pride cometh before the fall. So I know you're doing great work. I know people don't thank you all the time. Maybe you don't see your success or your work pan out all the time. Well, I'm here to tell you your work pans out. I'm here to tell you that your guys will pan out. And if I can go from the basement of prison to working at the White House, if I can go from the basement of prison in a dysfunctional family to working at London Business School and Harvard Law School, and for the record, I got a fellowship at Harvard Law School in 2016. Actually, they sent me another fellowship application for the School of Government. I turned it. I'm so bored with Harvard. I threw a fellowship in the trash the other day. I'm like, dude, life is good. Life is really good when Harvard can send you an invitation for a fellowship, and you're like, I'm busy. I'm busy. I got that. And literally, wonderful things happen. Wonderful things happen. I just got called to go to Detroit and build a citywide plan for social justice. And I'm going to go up there and help them put that together so we can actually help heal this racial divide that we have in our country, because it's real. Nobody wants to talk about it out loud. Nobody wants to say anything. We have an issue with black and white people in America. And my goal is not to exacerbate or point fingers or shame people. My goal is how do we bridge the gap, fix it, and go forward. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I'm at. And so when I go to Detroit in the coming weeks, is to sit with their mayor and their police chief and their sheriffs and help them formalize a plan to help heal, not to say where you've been and what you've been doing and you should have been doing more. You should have known you got a 400-year head start. Oh, that's all clever, but it's not fixing anything. There's two ways you can approach a problem: to fix it or to mess it up. I approach problems to fix it. I don't approach, you can find a way to make it happen or find a way to make it not happen. I don't want to find a way to make it not happen. So I just want to say, if nothing else, thank you. Thank you. Let me saying thank you, because it was people like you that made people like me possible. And there's more me's out there. That somebody has to do the hard work. Somebody came into a prison cell and sat with me, the maniac, and helped me. It was a GED teacher, a little white lady, came in a cell in maximum security segregation, and she sat with me and helped me get my GED. And I told her my dreams of going to Harvard, and she said, Drake, go do it. And when she first came to see me in segregation, they told, you can't teach him. He's dangerous. We're going to lock you in a room and he might hurt you. She said, open the door. Let him in. If he shows up to learn, I'm going to teach him. They try to talk her out to teach me because I'm in segregation for trying to kill 7 people. I was in seg for trying to kill 8. I was planning to kill 7 more. I've been fighting the staff every day I've been in jail. This little tiny little white lady going to come in and lock in a cell with me by herself with a pad and a pencil. And they were like, you can't do that. He's not safe. No, they told him when she refused, hope he kills you. When she refused to not teach me, they said, I hope he kills you. And that lady taught me, because that's what she committed to do. That was her job. All she did was her job. She didn't give me extra pencils. She didn't bring me no candy. She just did her job. And you know something? Her job was enough. Her job was enough. And everybody I came encountered with did their job from a good place in their heart. And it resonated with me. So why am I showing up for people now? Because people showed up for me. And you never know who's going to be the next one. But I can tell you this here: Gordon Haas, Pat Dempsey, Deacon John, Father Martin. I go down a list of everybody who touched my life. And if you read my book, they're all in the acknowledgement sections. Every last one of them who touched my life. Because I'll never forget them. My son has a great life because of people like you. I'm saying my mother used to be embarrassed to say my name because all I did was get in trouble and go to lockup. And people like you came and helped me get my life together. Ask my mother where I'm at now. Oh, my son's on a Zoom down in South Carolina trying to be helpful to some folks, learn and go and move forward. Where was he yesterday? Oh, he was on a call with some people from LA doing the Boys and Girls Club, helping them put together a program. What's going to be next week? Oh, he's going to build a citywide program in Detroit to help cure social justice and violence and racial tension. What's going to be next week? Oh, he's going to be at Harvard. He's doing another lecture. Would you like to go? I got tickets. My mother will never be embarrassed to say my name again. And she could care less if I worked at Harvard or Home Depot. He's out here. He's doing well. And I'm proud of him. That's all it comes down to. That's all it comes down to. Is that she will never, for the rest of her days, be embarrassed to say my name again. Ever. And the greatest thing I've ever done in my life is not have a kid, because that wasn't my doing. He showed up. That's God thing. My mother is getting older. She's getting close to 80. And like, if you're a mom or you're a parent, only thing you want to know when you start hitting them high numbers is, are my kids going to be okay when I leave? That's it. That's my mother's number one issue every day of the week. because she realizes that 77 is not another 50 years attached. And she just wants to know, are my kids going to be okay when I go? And my sister, older sister, still struggles. My little brother, still not focused. And I say little, he's at 52, but he's still struggling. He's not struggling, he's just unfocused. And mom's still trying to fix him. He's a mommy's boy, he's a baby. She's fixing the baby, and that's her biggest concern. When I'm not here to fix him and help him, who's going to help him? So I flew to Virginia 2 years ago. I said with my mom, I said, listen, we might not all get along, but I got him. I got him. I'm going to hold him down, flat. That's the biggest thing I've ever done. For all the grief I've given her, to give her that peace of mind is everything. So keep working, keep focused, and trust and believe it pays off.
All right, Andre, let me go get my tissue right quick. Thank you so much. From all I can see is we have one question, and it's from Ben Dunlap. He is our drug court coordinator here in Lancaster County. And it says, Andre, how did you stay safe in prison if you left your protection, and what gave you the courage?
How did I stay safe while I was in prison and I left my protection? By the time I left and I changed my mind, I became the third ranking gang member in the state. I had done a lot of horrendous and bad and mean things to people. So nobody was trying to come poke the bear, for one. And so the truth was, I could have stayed. I didn't have to join that whole culture to stay safe. There are hundreds of people in prison who aren't in gangs. There are thousands of people in prison just minding their business. The perception, I wanted to believe that. I wanted to be in the gang. The gang didn't have to have me. I could have just said, no, I'm going to mind my business. I'm going to go to school and just be out the way. But I wanted to be in that life. So when they told me that lie, I wanted to believe it. There's thousands of people in prison right now who are not a member of any gang or affiliation or organization, and they're doing okay. They're doing the right thing, and they're moving forward. Then there's those who decide to believe that this is the way they have to be, and they would want to be. Same thing in high school. There were hundreds of kids who went to class every day. There's a choice few who decided to cut class and go smoke cigarettes and weed out back. And you say, well, the teachers don't care. It's the same teacher that taught everybody else. You just don't want to connect, and you look for a way to opt out. So the way I stayed safe, I stopped participating in the things that make you unsafe. When you participating in drug dealing, you're participating in gangbanging, you're participating in extortion, those are things that make you unsafe. The fact that you're in prison, there's 2.2 million people in prison. And 99.9% of them are safe. The ones that get in problems are the ones that tend to get in the things that run with the people in the wrong crowds. So when you start running with the drug dealers and the gang members, that's when you become unsafe, more so than if you just mind your business. So it was more or less a lie that my friends told me, which what friends do.
Andre, I have a question about connecting. How you said you went to a lot of the boys and girls clubs and you connected with the girls, the boys, some of the white kids. How were you able to establish that connection? Because sometimes I feel like going into schools, it's hard to make a connection with people that don't relate to your story or don't necessarily look like you. So how were you able to make that connection with all of the different populations that you work with?
My first thing is my story is not what they connect to. My color is not what they connect to. What they connect to is I'm responsive to them. I'm listening to them. I'm a professional listener. I teach reflective listening. If I get hit by a car and they wheel me into the emergency room, I'm not looking to see what color the doctor is. I don't care what color the ambulance driver is. I'm in pain. Please make it go away. Make it stop. Heal me. So when people are in pain, they're looking for a doctor, not a white doctor or a black doctor. They're looking for an ambulance driver, not a white one or a black one or a Spanish one. So we're looking at, when we're healthy and we're whole, we judge people. When we're healthy and we're whole, we have all these limitations and things and check boxes. When you're in pain, you want the pain to stop. So the next time you go to the dentist, you don't care if it's a white dentist or black dentist. If it's a black female, you wouldn't be mad. There's more you can talk about, but you're not even really there to talk because your mouth's open. She got stuff jammed in it. But you're like, okay, that's a nice addition, but your main thing is it's a good doctor or a good dentist. So when somebody's in pain, they're looking for healing. So how do you find healing and connectivity? Are they going to hear my pain? Or are they going to tell me their story? Telling me their story is not hearing my healing or hearing my pain. So when I go into a white, black, Spanish, Asian community, white, rich, poor, black, rural, doesn't matter. My key thing is I'm going to listen to your pain. And I'm going to speak back to that. Your doctor's going to tap, where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? And then you find it right there. Then he starts treatment. So I go in, I'm like, tell me where it hurts. Tell me where it hurts. And they're focusing on their pain. They're not focusing on my color. And for white kids, it's like he doesn't look like my parents. So I feel safer talking to him at one level. Because if I'm a white, 52-year-old white male walking into a 15-year-old white kid, I remind him of his dad. And he might have issues with his dad. And those issues, I have to now overcome those issues. When I walk into a room with white kids as an adult black male, and I got a hoodie on and some Timbs, I look nothing like their parents. So it disarms them and makes them, okay, he's not my dad, he's not my grandfather, he's not the doctor, he's not the guy in a white jacket. Then then the key thing is I listen to them. My opening thing is to get them to share their experience. And we're going to talk about that. My story will not save anybody. It'll motivate some people. But I do crisis intervention, pull kids off of ledges. And it's never been with my story. It's always been with my listening.
Awesome. Just have a couple of comments. Awesome job. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks for reminding me that on my worst day, I'm someone's best help. Just a couple of thank yous from Facebook. I personally want to thank you. I still haven't received your book, but I know it's coming.
I mailed it. I went to my publisher people because I ordered it from them, and I put in. Trust me, I can send you the thing. I got 2 people told me today the books ain't showed up. I definitely 1,000% guarantee ordered it.
I'm just waiting on it because I'm looking forward to reading it. I just want, on behalf of the Coalition for Healthy Youth, as well as counseling services, thank you for taking your time out to give such an incredible message. I think you had a couple people here in the office in tears, but we appreciate it, and we thank you for everything that you do beyond the prison wall to the youth and everybody that you are able to connect with and able to touch. I don't think anybody has any questions. I do have your contact information, so if anyone from the coalition reaches out to me and wants to have a one-on-one with you, I don't mind sharing that at all. If there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, our next coalition meeting is... I should have had this ready. I apologize. October 21st. October 21st, and it will still be via Zoom or via some type of virtual platform. Just a lot of thank you, Andres. Excellent discussions. Our youth bill coordinator just ordered some of the books for their...
Amazon moves faster than me. Especially if you got Prime.
Just a bunch of thank yous, and people really enjoyed it. If you want to share this video, I will have it on the coalition's page as well as counseling services. Please feel free to share it to all of the audiences that you come in contact with, because the more that we share the message, the greater it goes. I got another comment. I just love the presentation. Just ordered the book. So people are definitely receiving your message very well. And if there's anything that I can do in the meantime, please let me know. If we have any announcements that anyone wants to make on behalf of their agency, please leave it.
I have one request.
Chat.
I have one request. And I make this every time. There's a gentleman in South Carolina. His name is Brian Sterling. He's the director of SCDC. He's the gentleman who brought me to South Carolina. Nina Staley found me, and the director agreed to keep me, and he's kept me here for almost 2 years now. So if the people on this call would be so kind to just send him an email or a letter, say, you know something, you brought a good guy. I'm saying, just to say thank him for my presence, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in South Carolina. I wouldn't be doing this call. I'd be someplace else doing something else. And if there's any other coalition meetings or places or spaces I can be helpful, I told him when I came, I want to be as helpful as possible. That was part of our deal. And I'm going to be as helpful to the state of South Carolina, not just the SCDC prison system, as possible. So if y'all be so kind to just shoot him an email or drop him a line or whatever, leave him a message on the office phone.
Do you have his email address? I can put it in the chat box for all of our participants. Or if not, you can just email it to me and we can just send it out to all of our coalition members.
You have to. I'll get it. I don't have it right with me. Okay. I have to turn. It's on my computer, and I'm on my computer. So I'll get it, and you can send it. But that's my only request. Is, I mean, again, he doesn't get a lot of thank yous. He gets a lot of drama, and he's running the prison system, and it's never a job where you get thank yous. So I appreciate him for bringing me and giving me the opportunity to be helpful in this great state of South Carolina, and it's been fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for finding me.
All right.